and they hate. They don't find a weak bone in his body. He's not to be dictated to. He's not to be controlled by outside forces. He's a man who says what he pleases. He goes where he pleases. He does what he pleases. For the very reasons that we love him. We love him because he unites us together as brothers and sisters. There are many who desire to control his tongue. You have heard so much about him, but in a few minutes you're going to hear from him. Good brothers and sisters, the haters are on the outside. All I feel is wall-to-wall, wrap-around love.
All right, everybody. First things first, we're going to jump into a video of a guy who I watch a lot. This is actually a video where I was supposed to watch it later, but once again, this file is getting so big, so we're going to watch it now. As I bring up the clip, you probably know this guy. I believe his name is B Signified. But this is his other page, Signified B-Sides. This is where he touches on topics that are kind of like more of his opinion, more so than a detailed layout of details and facts of why an opinion is wrong. He's really good. You guys should watch him, not just for pro-black stuff, just in general, especially a lot of music stuff he does as well and industry things. But with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this video. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to just pause it and make comments where I see fit. Once again, everybody, like, follow, and share. Please, what I want you to do is I want you to comment. You can screw the like, following, and sharing. And, well, no, not the sharing. But sharing and commenting is the most important thing. We want dialogue here. We want to make a town hall, if you will, for the world. Not just Americans, but we want to start with Americans. But we want to get everybody in here. We want everybody's voices to be heard. I mean, you can say whatever you want. I prefer you don't say anything disgusting or vile. But if that's what you want to say, man, this is the No Apologies Network. Go ahead and say what you got to say, but I will air you out if I disagree. Okay? All right, with that said, here we go. Let's jump in.
So.
That's hilarious.
So, I think I'm pretty smart, despite that. I have 3.5 degrees, a bachelor's in mass communication, which is where the media expertise stems from, a master's in English education, which is where the writing and teaching comes from, and a master's in sociology, which is where the politics and philosophy comes from. I'm also ABD for my doctorate in sociology. ABD stands for all but dissertation, meaning that I finished all of my classes, passed all of my comprehensive exams, and all I need to do is write a dissertation to officially be Dr. FD Signifier. Something I'll do eventually, I just do not know when. Aside from the specific academics, I also have an extensive background in so many of the things I tend to talk about. I spent 10 years as a public school teacher in a variety of environments, from relatively rural spaces to black urban ones. I constantly worked in mentoring young men. I've worked in health policy and research. I grew up a huge rap nerd. My cousin Edie, who did the beat for the first Manosphere video, that right there.
Now, let me say this too, right? For just from what he said off the top, like, this man has an educational background. If you look at his following, I think I don't know, his follow, he has a pretty good following. We'll check it out. I'll drop it up on the side here when I edit the video. But if you look at his following, man, like, he should be up there with the Shapiros, the Parkers, the Deans, the Luke Beasleys, the David Packmans. This man is an intelligent man, and he talks about all those people I just mentioned to you talk about inequality issues and minority issues, and none of them have the right or the ability to speak about them correctly. And this man does, but no one listens to this guy. You know, like, you got Hassan Piker. Everybody loves Hassan Piker. He's like the progressive of all progressives. He is like, you know, super lefty. His education background pales in comparison to this man right here, right? But people would rather listen to Hassan, who has done nothing, learned nothing, taught nothing. Now, I won't give it. He's educated some people. I'll give him that. But he's a worthless human being. And looking at his uncle, he comes from a worthless line of human beings, right? He does it for the money. This guy does it for the love, and it's sad because those are the people we need to listen to, the ones who do it for the love. You know what I mean? Not to go too far off this, is a quick point that I'm going to get back to the video, is that people talk about me being a socialist. I used to deny being a socialist, but I am a socialist to the fact that I believe that everybody should get the same thing no matter what they do. And that's because we want to eliminate ego and a sense of importance, right? If you get paid the minimum wage to be a doctor, most of you would not be a doctor, right? But there is someone out there who would be a doctor for minimum wage because they like cutting people open. They like fixing people's problems. They like the science and the learning of it. And the joy that they get from that is equaled by nothing, right? Same thing with teaching. Same thing with a lawyer. And the same thing with a judge, a police officer, blah, 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 go on and on. Because that way we have the people who are the best at the job. And the people that are the best at the job are the ones that are best inclined to do it. Right? See, what we have now is we have a bunch of skilled jobs where only rich people and their children have the ability to learn. So we have a bunch of non-caring, privileged, and narcissistic people doing roles of necessary things like doctors, lawyers, and EMT drivers. Like, those jobs need to be done by people who are of high standard and are who have empathy and sympathy. But instead, we have a bunch of rich kids with no empathy, no sympathy, only concern is the dollar amount. So therefore, they cut corners and they do bad work. This is why America is the way it is. And you refuse to realize it. But I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna go ahead back to him. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get off my high horse.
He was a DJ, and growing up, I spent most of my weekends from middle school in his mother's basement with several of my cousins, spinning records and having the mustiest hip hop debates you could imagine. I'm pointing all this out to say that for the most
that's funny.
part, if I'm talking about something in a video from one of the main topics that I tend to talk about, I have some pretty solid credentials behind whatever it is I'm saying.
So, all right, so I feel this, man, because those are the same things that, like, you know what I mean? We used to record our conversations, man, me, Point Blank, Brown Bag, Rudy. Like, we used to record our conversations of these musty hip-hop battles and fight and talking about fighters and all the things we talked about, politics, everything. My boy Nick, you know what I'm saying? Like, we had some wide-ranging debates, man. Like motherfuckers don't know how it was back in the day, brah.
And then there's Terrance Howard. Terrance Howard is an actor who's been around now, I think, for a minute. I feel like I first saw him in Dead Presidents, which was like the mid-90s hood classic. He was also in The Best Men early on in his career. That's like
Park.
98, 99, maybe 2000.
He played Spaceman
early
in
in his
Sunset
career,
Park.
he was what Prim's Hood Cinema would call an all-star, which if I were to be so bold to define it explicitly, that's like a black actor who's mostly only famous to black people because they're mostly only seen in black media. And we have a lot of love for them, but they'll never fully get the real all-star status that they deserve. But that isn't the case for Terrance Howard, because in 2005, he starred in the movie that feels before its time in some ways. Specifically, it's a black movie made for white people by a white director, Hustle and Flow. I've never actually watched this movie because it always seemed off, right? Like, and it's you can tell there weren't enough niggas in the room when this was being like crafted. It may not be as bad as I think. Again, I haven't seen it, but his performance in that film brought him.
Pause. Let me say this. I did watch the movie. Watched it 2 times. There are some positives to the film. but I feel like he felt. But where he felt like he didn't want to watch it because he thought something was off about it, I was intrigued to watch it when it won awards. When it won awards, especially 3 6 Mafia winning a Grammy for it. You know what I mean? That really kind of made me think, like, what? A whole bunch of rich, elite white people watched a movie about a pimp with music made by some of the most hood motherfuckers on the face of the planet, and they gave it an Oscar. Wow. Now, the movie was good for like their acting performances, except for this dude who's frozen here right here. Ludacris was an absolute clown in this film. You know, but it was just very stereotypical. Everything was stereotypical. But what kills me is the white people in the film being a young girl that he's pimping, a young white girl that he's pimping, and then the other important white person in the film being basically the guy who makes all his beats. If you're going to tell a story of hip-hop, and you've never told a real story of hip-hop in film before, right? Never did. But instead of all the real, true, amazing stories, you know what I'm saying, that you have in hip-hop that you could tell, you tell a fake story where he is both victimizing white people and being saved by white people. It really kills me, you know? And then his bottom bitch, the one who's pregnant with his baby, or a baby, I don't think they were ever really clear about that. Taraji Henson was talented the whole time. And he missed it because he was just using her as a sex object. But don't let me dig into films. I'll go way deeper than anybody will ever imagine. But I was always put off by that. And if you notice when I talk to people, if white people mention hustle and flow, I will go on a diatribe that will ruin the party. All right, back to the video.
A lot of notoriety, and suddenly he wasn't just famous to black people anymore. He was famous to everybody. And what did Terrence Howard do with that fame? He lost his goddamn mind.
How can 1 × 1 = 1 be part of the multiplication table? It fails to satisfy the term multiply. It doesn't multiply. You don't get any flour to grow unless you throw some shit on it. 1.414213562373095. I was given.
Time out. Let me say this before we go deep into this, because I believe that he is also crazy. I agree that he went crazy. But the moment he went crazy was not after that Oscar. It was what happened after that, when The Avengers was casted. And he, if everybody remembers, he was the original War Machine. He wanted to get paid like the other actors on that roster, the big white actors. And they told him no, because he was supposed to actually even have a spinoff, be more of a important role in there. And Don Cheadle said, "I'll take whatever you give." Not to take a shot at Don Cheadle, but he kind of does. Like, he does shuck and jive. Like, he's like Stephen Fetchit. I don't hate Stephen Fetchit because Stephen Fetchit did what he had to do to get his bread. But come on, man, Don Cheadle don't stand for shit. That nigga don't stand for shit or with nobody. But then again, he don't fake the funk, so can't really be mad. But he just said, though, about the flowers. If you can't get flowers to grow, throw some shit on it. That is wild. That's wild. But that's only because he's a moron. I look at it as, yeah, that's crazy, but it shows how symbiotic life is. Like, everything on this planet is made to help everything else on the planet. You know what I'm saying? We're like, if this is why the belief that we're God is possibly true, because we literally have the earth can't live without us, and we can't live without the earth. In all senses. We can't go to Mars because we can't breathe straight in Mars air like that. We can't grow straight in Mars dirt like that. We don't even know what our shit would do like, if maybe we would shit on the surface of Mars and it would explode. We don't. So yeah, but that shit he said about the flowers is kind of like, it shows he's thinking deep. But his problem was when he found out what Signified just said before this part about how he's famous with black people, but he could not break into the white market. And he was a light-skinned enough guy that could have played Hustle and Flow, and white people liked it and could stomach it. And that's why it got Oscars. I'm sure there's a lot of other black films that would have got Oscars if they in Golden Globes if they would have actually taken the time to really pay attention to it. But yeah.
Not just the one. I was given the entire electric field and magnetic field and the constitution between them.
Oh, timeout. And the multiplication thing. This is what really fucked him up. Like, this is what he really thought he was onto something. How one doesn't multiply. It's because he's not taking the concept of one cannot multiply. The only multiple of one is one. 0 doesn't multiply either. Because nothing cannot multiply and 1 cannot multiply. This is a basic understanding. Because 1 is 1. 1 and itself is still 1. The 1 represents a value. That's not 1 and another 1. Because that would be 2, motherfucker. Oh, my God. Terminology, like 1 plus 1, 1 and. Plus also means and. It's like people want to be there's two. I'm sorry, and I'm going off on a tangent here. People want to be two things, and I said this to somebody else last night. I didn't say two things, but I just had this realization just now. Is that people want to be two things in life. Everybody. And I know what you're thinking, and one of them has nothing, and neither one of them has anything to do with sex or being desired. People want to be smart and they want to be funny. Everybody on this planet wants to be smart and funny. You don't believe me? Watch the internet. I'm talking to you right now because I think I'm smart and funny. But that's what everybody wants to be. They want to be the one who has that witty phrase that everybody remembers and everybody laughs at. Even when they're watching a movie or watching a performance, that's why you have hecklers. People think they're so important, they will go pay to be at someone else's performance that they set up. They'll take the cheap way out. They'll pay their little ticket fee when that person had to go through years of training and everything to get where they're at. They'll pay a ticket fee and think that it's their chance to perform. That's because everybody wants to be funny and smart. Yeah, they want fame and all that. They do want sex. They do want money. But all that stuff is superficial. Because if they get all those things and they don't regard themselves as, and they don't think people regard them as smart or funny, they'll kill themselves. Perfect example is Chris Farley. Because most people think, oh, it's because he thought he was ugly. No. That nigga got girls. He was charming. What most of you don't realize you need to be. But no one respected him. He didn't feel like he was respected. He didn't think people respected him for his intelligence. The thought he put behind the comedy he did. They thought he didn't think they thought he was funny. They thought what he did was funny. And that's cutting. That's hurt. Like, that's what everybody wants to be. Realize that. That's what, and now he's on his, he must have realized he wasn't funny a long time ago. But now he's on his I'm smart kick, Terrance Howard. He has to be smart because they didn't give him they didn't value his talent. So now he has to prove to everybody. And unfortunately, because of his name, he has a platform.
I've made some discoveries in my own personal life with the science that Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. I've been able to rebuild Saturn without gravity.
It's funny because I didn't know Terrance was out here bad like this. Like, dude seems to have been wilding for years, and it just didn't get a lot of attention until he popped up on Joe Rogan's podcast a little while ago. Back in 2013, he was telling people he got his doctorate from South Carolina State University in chemical engineering. That university doesn't even have a doctorate in chemical engineering.
And that's wild.
They did give him an honorary doctorate after he spoke at their graduation. Bro must think those are legit. I don't know how. I don't know. And somehow, maybe because he was just an actor interested in the sciences, he got invited to speak at Oxford University, where he rambled nonsense for around an hour, and then somehow also managed to connect to Neil deGrasse Tyson and send him more of his theories and rambling, to which Neil covered the paper in red ink and said, "Don't send me any more of this nonsense."
Quick editing bay aside, Neil deGrasse Tyson actually responded to Terrence Howard's claims or complaints about him on the Joe Rogan podcast. Here's a quick clip of a highlight, and I'll put it in the description.
As only one light source, we actually see two lights. A light meter will show twice the intensity of light. This is false.
He attacked it with such vitriol.
A diagnosis of a
And while this commercial is going, I'm gonna take this time to put this out there that I watched I both watched Terrence Howard's interview on Rogan, and I watched the video response that Neil deGrasse Tyson made. And all right, he's framing it in a little way. Neil deGrasse didn't clown Terrence Howard in any way, and the only reason why he did the video, and he did that video to specify, like, no, I didn't do this to clown him. I treated him as if a scientist would treat another scientist on a peer review. He gave him more respect than anybody else really gave him, because Joe should have listened to the motherfucker before he put him on TV, on internet. And signifies being a little hard on him, but Terrence Howard is legit crazy because of the reaction that he had when he went back on Joe Rogan to what Neil deGrasse Tyson did. But Neil deGrasse Tyson is the man. He's the real Iron Man. Everybody's tripping if they don't fuck with him.
Whether someone was known for baking great.
Maybe that's too blunt. What else should I say? I'm a scientist. That's what I would tell a colleague.
Yeah.
A colleague would then say, "Would thank you," and then we go out for a beer after, because that's how that works.
I reached out to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Told him it was controversial, and I sent him over that 36-page thing that had the wave conjugations in it, but I started it off with 1 × 1 = 2. And he went in on my treatise, wrote, redlined everything.
There's a lot more wild shit bro's been up to for the last decade.
But also, real quick, just that the idea, the reason why there's a problem with that is because once you say 1 × 1 is 2, you can't even fathom how much actual science that has been tested and fact found and just for years upon years, decades upon decades, centuries in some cases, that you're undoing. There's no possible way you're right, just from the fact that it's already been tested over and over again. Math is a science. All sciences go through the scientific method. It makes sense. It's like, once again, if it could read out as a sentence. Math can read out in words as well as numerals. And you don't understand why 1 × 1 at the beginning of the motherfucking scale fucks up everything.
While black folks weren't paying attention, we were just appreciating him for his time on Empire, I guess. Either way, this brings up a topic that I've grazed over, but I haven't talked about explicitly in any content, which is a concept I like to call pseudo-intellectual Negro nonsense, or maybe PIN for short. I don't know. I put the Negro in there, by the way, for a reason, but in truth, this is not a racialized concept. Every race, culture throughout history has probably had a Terrence Howard or two, a self-absorbed, self-righteous, know-it-all,
I like the Jordan Peterson in the
just
background.
smart enough to sound like they know what they're talking about, but inherently anti-intellectual.
Oh, Aaron
because
Rodgers,
to
oh
them,
my God.
Intelligence is more about performance and social status than actual pursuit of knowledge. For black folks in particular, though, it does feel like there's a different flavor to it. The imagery of the slick talking charismatic preacher, the hoteps on the corner, the uncles in the barbershop that will talk really loudly and confidently about shit they've never actually learned anything about. Pseudo-intellectual Negro nonsense is a tradition among black culture, probably going back to Africa. I don't know, actually. But if I were a pseudo-intellectual Negro, I'd probably try to make that seem like it was completely legit. I just say it with implicit confidence as if I knew it to be true, despite not having any real knowledge or support for that idea or have done any research on it. But it's not just a willingness to present half-baked theories as factual that makes one a pseudo-intellectual. If I'm fair, everyone is prone to talking out their ass every once in a while. Even legitimate intellectuals and academics start out with theories and hypotheses and work their way back to legitimate knowledge. The real key to the pseudo-intellectual Negro is the expressly unscientific way that they respond to information that contradicts what they think is true. For example, let's hear how Terrence Howard responds to actual studied, credentialed, and legitimate scientists rejecting his goofy-ass ideas that 1 × 1 somehow equals 2.
Is equal to 2 pounds, but it's 1 pound squared, which doesn't make any sense because you've got a
1
squared
pound,
unit.
one
Squared. 1 pound squared.
Can you divide pounds? Can you divide money? If you can divide it, you can multiply it. What, a pound times a pound? What, a pound squared? 2 pounds? That 2 pound, 1 squared? Well, you know, it's funny. I actually patented 1 squared. All these things that I showed you guys, I've patented all these things. You know why I patented them? Because in 1926, a man named Walter Russell.
And I know what he means on that. I get what he means on that. He's basically saying that his system reverses and divides the same way. Yeah, because you fucked it up once again at the gate with 1 × 1. You've already fucked it up there. So if you take shit backwards, it'll, I'm sure somewhere it turns into food. Just like that. I look how that came back around.
You don't get any flower to grow unless you throw some shit on
it. But for him to be even entertained like this, I feel like is a way to clown him, and by clowning him, clown other people by association. I'll let you put that math together because this nigga sounds mad.
He didn't patent it. He didn't copyright it. So I copywrote all these things and patented all these things before bringing them to you. They are true, and
him saying he patented it is because he probably patented 1 squared. 1 × 1 equals 2. He probably patented that. And of course he probably did because no one would. And if it were, like, all right, and this is like the super, like, Marvel Universe split. Like, not to say that this is going to happen, obviously, is that if he was right, he could then be one of the, he would be legend. We should make a story about Terrence Howard being right, like the alternate universe in reality where he's right. And then again, I really don't even give a fuck. Because here's the crazy part. They're all just words and theories and thoughts by us. So we could change the language or the understanding of it at any time we want. We could change what 2 means altogether. There's no such thing as 2 in Japanese. It's whatever the fuck they call a 2. I'm sorry. It's just mind-boggling thinking that these are the people that are billionaires. And people talk about this being a meritocracy. And these are the people that are millionaires and they make so much money. It seems like the dumbest ones make the most money and run this country, and then they have dumb kids and then the dumb kids that talk your kids into believing that they're smart, and the cycle just keeps repeating itself.
I think there's some value to them. I don't know why I said that.
This is the true difference between the actual intellectual and the pseudo-intellectual. The pseudo-intellectual thinks they're smarter than the room. The actual intellectual knows that they're not. Through all that schooling and experience that I've had that I talked about earlier, one thing I've learned is how little I've actually learned. How many more people have read and done more than I have. How big and vast the world actually is, and how despite my credentials and everything I've done, it's only a fraction of the knowable universe on any given topic. So when I'm faced with pushback on knowledge that I think I have, unless I know that I know that I know what I'm saying is correct, like unless I just read that shit before having that conversation, instinctually I do a mental check through every bit of information, experience, every book or text or report that I've ever came across before exerting the factuality of what I'm saying. And even then, I also open myself up to being corrected, that maybe even I misinterpreted something that I read. On the flip side, what Terrance did here is the mark of a true pseudo-intellectual. He used circular logic to try to simply assert that he was right just because. And then when he began to falter on how he could possibly prove that he was correct in the face of someone with obviously more information, he pivoted to a different topic. And to be honest, this is actually like best case scenario with these types of guys. It can be much, much worse. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's been in a conversation with these types of people, and like they don't even have the shame to feel insecure about how wrong they are about something.
They don't even have
Sometimes they'll just revert to, you don't understand, or you're too blind.
And they'll start using big words like he did earlier.
Mind. And I'm immediately reverting to Hotep voice.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's not just Hotep's, but I'm just saying, if you're like me, that's what this has always sounded like. I've had 11 o'clock at night debates about why the earth isn't flat with people I don't talk too much these days, which is sad because it's like it's family, but that's a whole other conversation. That's the real scourge of pseudo-intellectuals, the immense levels of confidence they can often have in something that is blatantly incorrect. And therein lies, I think, the most interesting insight into these types of people. When it comes to the Terrance Howards, the Kanyes, the Cat Williamses, and other similar figures, specifically in black spaces here, but also universally, the biggest aspect of their persona is the confidence and unwillingness that they have to even appear wrong.
Yes, and this is what gets me about, like, and when Cat Williams did that interview with Shay Shay, I kept telling everybody, like, yo, it's funny, but let's not put too much into it. They forget he was a comedian. And what he said, though it was jarring and weird, it was funny to everybody, because that's how warped America is right now. But you don't even realize how many careers he ruined just to be funny for y'all. And this nigga sat there and told all types of lies that were obvious lies about things that he had did in his life that no one asked him to prove. He trumped y'all. He trumped the shit out of y'all in that damn interview. And everybody was just into it because of Schadenfreude. It's the culture is really twisted. And let's be like, and then now look at Kanye. Look at Kanye. Y'all made this nigga a god. And it's the same thing with LeBron James. You make these people kings and gods and at young ages, and then don't ever tell them they shit stink. This is the same problem with these niggas on the block who want to kill everybody. Because y'all have let them believe that their emotions are the most important thing and that they are the most important things in the world. And they act on nothing but emotions. Created a bunch of betas, and then you wonder where are the alphas. Jesus. You don't even know what an alpha looks like.
Introduce the idea that they aren't absolute authority on whatever it is they're talking about. It's the social currency of being smart versus the actual value of it. So these dudes will say absolutely ridiculous things with a straight face, and they look at you like you're dumb for questioning them.
When you hear about slavery for 400 years, for 400 years, that sounds like a choice.
I actually agree with with that point right there. To a certain extent, I understand that it would take a group decision in order to stay in something like to get out of something like that. But all it takes is a majority decision to stay in it, or not even a majority, strong minority to stay in it that could ruin everything. And for him to say that to me and you, if we're in a conversation around the way on some shit like this where there's nobody seeing it, that's one thing. But he said that to the world, and more than once. And like that I do not agree with. His opinion is his opinion. Like, and I agree. Like, there's no way in the world I would have been able to watch them rape a grown ass man or a child or anyone that I loved, and just chilled like and waited till it happened to me. You're fucking crazy. You're fucking crazy. Yeah. Now I may have waited and had like a absolutely diabolical plan to get back at those people and to get out of that enslavement, but it would have happened. So yeah, I agree with Ye on that tip. So I was never a big critic on that.
What the does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
That's not about actual intelligence. It's about persona. It's about ego. But an even bigger problem, though, lies in how we respond to this. How a lot of us are unwilling to be critical of these people just because they have been successful and they speak with such confidence. We presume that they can't both be idiots and really good at comedy or music or football or something.
They can.
We want to stretch their status from one particular venue across every possible venue because they're the way that they are. Kyrie Irving is one of the most skilled basketball players of his era, so we will allow him to be a public smart dumb nigga, and folks will get mad at you for saying, no, in this one case, he really should. He should
shut the fuck up
and dribble, but maybe like quietly mumble to himself and then dribble. Right? Perfect example is that Cat Williams interview, because not only did Cat Williams get on there and say some wild shit that people just kind of glossed over because he said mean things about other comedians, it also somehow elevated Shannon Sharpe to the status of like expert interviewer. And this is wrong because Shannon Sharpe,
No, I thought he was good at it before.
Is dumb.
He is, but
in fact, it's hard.
Shannon Sharpe is dumb. I thought he was a good interviewer before this interview. This interview is not what made me a fan of Club Shay Shay. It's the fact that he let people speak. Like, a good interviewer to me knows when to shut the fuck up. And they also know when to push, and they know when to dig. I feel like he does know how to do that because I think all black men do. Because all black men are always in a situation of what the fuck's going on here. I got to peep the scene without everybody else knowing I'm peeping the scene. He is a good interviewer. Let's not take something from him. He's an idiot on a whole bunch of counts. But he is a good interviewer. He knows how to get what people are looking for. The answer that they're looking for.
Hard to watch these interviews sometimes because he's often so bad at his job.
And then she got in her car and sped off. Now I'm sitting here.
I was just going to say before he put this clip on, he's bad at his job when he interviews white people. Because black people, all it takes is for them to get in their feelings with another black person, then they start spilling all the beans. But you gotta dig with these white. This interview in specific, because I don't know who this comedian, this white comedian, I don't know what his name is, but this story he told, I never even heard about this controversy he was in until this interview, and then but the way he explained it made me think like, you're lying. You're completely lying. The whole thing, you should have shut the fuck up about it. But all Shannon had to do was ask him certain questions, like, why did you do this then? Why'd you do this? The same thing a regular person would do.
Like, head spinning, but now I can't spend any time at the cemetery because I'm worried she's going back to tell my stepdad and my other brother, Gary's at the graveside. I thought they was about to come in to pick up guns a-blazing.
Right.
So I was like, and I mean literally guns a-blazing. So I was like, I had a dip. So that's the last time I talked to her or seen her or anything.
Some Owens, I think.
Let me ask you this. How different is dating interracially when you first started doing it?
Do your segue?
You like that?
That's top tier right there.
But one area where Shannon Sharpe is not dumb is sports. He's a good sports commentator, or at least an entertaining one. He's also an NFL Hall of Famer and a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's in his 50s, but he still seems to be in amazing shape, and he has a unique speaking voice. It doesn't get much better than that for a resume for sports, but there seems to be something in us, and this
like, is before
people, but everyone,
Shannon got into what he got into.
You're so good at this one thing, surely we should love and expect greatness from you in all these other areas, and we shouldn't.
Mom is white.
My mother is not white.
Is your
Why
mom?
do people keep saying my mother is white?
I do love this girl.
She's West Indian, so
she is a black woman from Grenada, which is a black island.
She married a white man.
No, she did not.
And I can say the same thing about Joe Rogan, who platformed Terrance Howard, leading to this video in the first place, and was platformed many a weirdo and kook, and allowed them to speak nonsense.
Joe Rogan is a problem. Everybody, he's the new Rush Limbaugh. Everybody thought he was cool with black people because I think Chappelle said something good about him, but that nigga, he does not like niggas, bro. He's a bro.
Of course, Donald Trump is literally running for president. And those folks bring me to probably the most important thing that I want to get across is that the existence of these pseudo-intellectuals and these sideshows that we center in important discourses is indicative of a bigger problem. I've actually done a decent amount of research on this topic, on why people navigate to conspiratorial thinking and the beliefs and attitudes that will usually get you on a Joe Rogan podcast. And while it may seem comforting to us to say that all these people are stupid and mentally unwell, and by the way, like, we got to get out the habit of like referring to these types of folks as insert psychological disorder here, because those psychological disorders like narcissism and sociopathy, psychopathy, etc., don't necessarily make a person bad or behave like this.
Good point.
These are just assholes, right?
Yeah, they're D-bags.
It's two different things. But even beyond that, the research tells us a different story on why these people behave the way they do. Here's a quote from a Psychology Today article on the topic. The researchers found that overall, people were motivated to believe in conspiracy theories by a need to understand and feel safe in their environment, and a need to feel like the community they identify with is superior to others. And this is a common finding in research on this topic. People don't wander into this type of thinking purely based on misinformation or a lack of intelligence. It's because they desire a need to feel safe and feel esteemed. This is also an explanation on why some of the most ardent followers of conspiracy thinking tend to be those marginalized by society, those for whom the systems that we are expected to trust and believe in consistently fail. Some of my most difficult experience with this type of thinking and this type of energy came in my career as a social worker, dealing with young people for whom so many systems, schools, police, the courts, and their own parents at times failed them in magnificent ways. So to them, it makes more sense to believe in a wild conspiracy theory to explain the things they're going through than it makes sense to believe another adult in a suit or a uniform trying to tell them what to do, when their experience tells them that whatever's coming out that person's mouth is probably bullshit. In many ways, the wild stuff we're seeing erupting in our media, especially on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube, are a direct response to the persistent instability of our social order. And of course, if you ask me, it's a response to the chaos that is late stage capitalism in the West. And we need to keep that in mind as we are critical of this behavior. It's easy and fun to make fun of Terrance Howard and Joe Rogan and Kanye West, but we have to remember that this anti-establishment resentment beliefs that they have are a product of how untrustworthy and harmful the establishment has actually been. So this video talked a lot about people being, well, dumb. They sound smart, they use smart words, and they aren't unintelligent, they just don't know what the they're talking about. You might ask how this happens. Well, a major reason for this that I haven't touched on yet is that sometimes if you're the smartest person in your group or media bubble, then you can sometimes get too comfortable in the value of your own knowledge. You lack the perspective or maybe even the access to ideas and information that contradicts what you think you know. To be honest, our modern information age is somewhat designed to make this happen, which is why I'm happy to work with a company like Ground News.
Yeah, so with that, it's a pretty good video. It's funny, like he basically kind of agreed with what I was saying, like about how we all just want to we want to feel like people respect our intelligence and The witty part he left out, but I'm telling you, everybody wants to be funny. There's not one person on this earth who does not want to be funny. But yeah, so yeah, that's a pretty good video. I do like his. Check his stuff out. What I'll do is I'll put in the comments his pages, and then I'll also I'll try to find those the Terrence Howard and the Neil deGrasse Tyson stuff there as well, so you can check them out. Really good to see. Even though I hate to give any kind of I'm not going to put Joe Rogan's link in there. I might. But yeah. So thanks for checking it out, and I'll see you next time we check out another video.